It's a brilliant way of explaining it. So as soon as we get AC on that primary, through induction we get it on the secondary, and then over to the loudspeaker.
A transformer does not react in any way to DC.
Yeah. All times?
At all times.
Never break that rule. That's interesting.
That's the deal.
That is interesting, because I've seen people suggest
it's just like an ignition coil on a car engine.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
If you imagine this is the spark plug.
Right.
On a motorcycle or a car engine, that's on the output of the coil. On the input to the coil, you'll take the supply from your battery, 12 volts, through your ignition switch, come through a contact breaker to earth. And in fact, they'll usually earth the bottom of that to here, the same point.
Right.
So the bottom of each side of the coil is earthed.
Yeah.
So you only get the 3 turns.
Right.
Now, all the time current is flowing through the primary, that's all that's happening.
Right.
But the minute you open the switch so that the current stops flowing, that magnetic field collapses.
Yes.
And as it collapses, it induces a voltage in the secondary and you get a spark at the plug.
Oh, really? As it collapses? Okay.
The DC doesn't go through.
All right. Yeah.
So you can put as many volts on here as you like. If you hold it constant, nothing comes out the other side. But the coil will get hot.
If you hold it constant, you mean DC, a constant flow of electrons. I understand what you mean by constant flow.
And that's what's happening here. All the time there's no signal.
Right.
The no signal condition is 250 volts, if that's the voltage coming off this cathode, sitting straight across there, sitting on that anode. And a slightly reduced, courtesy of that resistor and that resistor, sitting on that one. So you've got a smoothing circuit here, so this 16 microfarad smooths the DC supply there, whereas this 32 smooths the whole lot.
Right.
Then you get additional smoothing with that one.
Yes.
Because you've got this high DC voltage here, and this is probably still 100, 150 volts, when this valve conducts as a result of the signal coming in here,
onto the triode,
right, the current in the anode is going to vary. And it's the varying current that drives the grid here to make this valve conduct.
Right.
But that capacitor stops that 150 volt DC getting in there.
Oh, I see. Blocking, so that's a blocking. Is that decoupling? Is that what they call decoupling?
Well, we normally call these decoupling. What this is really, it's a signal coupling capacitor. So it's designed to connect the signal through, but to block the DC.
Right.
And that's what all these are going to do. They're going to take that DC voltage, you had 300 volts sitting on here, we just established, maybe. Yeah, so each of those, when you turn that switch to the relevant path, the capacitors in there are stopping the DC voltage component from passing through.
Okay. So if they fail, you've got heat going off. That's probably explaining why some things overheat.
They will allow the signal to pass. They'll allow an AC signal to pass, but they won't allow DC.
Right. Yeah.
Because they'll charge and discharge. That's what a capacitor does when you put a polarity on the side. So you get a voltage across it. But what you can't, you put a meter across a capacitor, it measures open circuit, doesn't it?
All right. Yes. Yeah. So the capacitors only pass AC and they block the DC, of course. Yeah. So this would be good then if we can explain this from square one, step one. I mean that was sporadic, just going all over the place. But what we need to do is kind of like arrange it and write it out properly. And if we use this amplifier or a Danset one, maybe Danset might be a bit easier, isn't it? Because the Danset's got just an EL84 in there, and it's just one on some of the models, a metal rectifier and just an EL84. You know what I mean? I thought, well, that'd be easy to explain, you know. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, because in the old days you had crystals, exactly. So you're giving out 1 volt or 2 volts. Exactly.
See, this will take something like that because this 1 meg resistor here across the input isn't going to draw any current off the input.
Right.
So it's a very high impedance input.
Yes, a 1 meg.
Ideally suited to ceramic or crystal cartridges.
Yeah, or guitars even. Your magnetic.
Well, the guitar's a different story because that's a coil, so that can drive a lower impedance, low impedance input.
Right. Often the guitars like the valve amps for this reason, they're high impedance and it suits the coils on the guitars. As far as I know, it's a 10-to-1 ratio rule. If you've got a 50k pickup, then you want 500k input impedance on the amplifier, and that's what I go for.
Guitars, so I know nothing about that.
Right. That's what we go with as a rule, a 10-to-1 ratio, and it's often why valve amps just suit the guitar.
Superior knowledge there, Paul. I'm not into valves.
That's sound engineering thing going
into
on.
guitars at all. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's, you know, what you just said. It's the same thing. A cartridge on a record player is a high impedance cartridge. It's the same thing.
It's designed to fit
that. And the 6J5 can take care of the sensitivity and lift it up.
Presumably, yeah.
To
an early stage. Just an input stage triode. Very simple.
Yeah. I've seen Terry put the cartridges, really cheap Chinese things, they're really like £2, £3 kind of thing, and he put one on a Philips record player, and because it had an EBC 41 driver tube, it was alright, it actually sounded really good, and there was enough volume and voltage, and that was driving an EL84, so normally you see just EL84s on their own inside the record players. But
if all you got is an EL84, you've got to put some volts in there to get a signal out of it.
Yeah, or stick a preamp tube in there, like how some of them did. Philips
you could stick a little preamp, and you could hang a bloody magnetic cartridge on it with that.
Yeah, exactly. Many people would convert that.
People want to do, really.
Yeah.
It's what I've done with the jukebox. I put a little solid state preamp in it so I can use a magnetic cartridge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's essentially what they did later.
Yeah. What jukebox is that of yours?
Mine is a Rockola.
Rockola. Okay.
A Rockola 432.
432. We must look at that one day.
P160.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll look at that one day. All right, then I'm going to pack this garage and hope for the best.
Yeah, hope for the best indeed.
And then pack you off with this thing.